On the snowy evening of the 19th of April, 1953, Ronald Henry Tammen Jr., a 19-year-old sophomore at Miami University in Oxford, Ohio, stepped out of his dorm room in Fisher Hall and vanished without a trace. Described as a charismatic, athletic, and responsible student, Tammen's disappearance has baffled investigators, intrigued true crime enthusiasts, and earned him the moniker Phantom of Oxford among Miami University students. Despite extensive searches, multiple theories, and renewed investigations over the decades, the case remains one of Ohio's most perplexing unsolved mysteries. Ronald Tammen was born on the 23rd of July, 1933, in Maple Heights, Ohio, the second of 5 children in a close-knit family. A driven and ambitious young man, Tammen was known for his work ethic, having held jobs as a newspaper boy, golf caddy, and bowling alley pin setter before college. At Miami University, he was a business major, a member of the Delta Tau Delta fraternity, a varsity wrestler, a string bass player in the Campus Owls jazz band, and a residence hall advisor in Fisher Hall. Standing at 5'9", 5'10", with a muscular build, brown hair, and a ruddy complexion, Tammen was described as handsome and popular, with a reputation for reliability and kindness. His 1938 Chevrolet sedan, which he left parked on campus, and his active social life painted the picture of a well-rounded, all-American college student with no apparent reason to disappear. The events of the 19th of April, 1953, began unremarkably. It was a cold, snowy Sunday evening, and Tammen was in his second-floor room in Fisher Hall, a former Victorian mental asylum turned dormitory. Around 8 p.m., he left his room to request new bed sheets from the hall manager, Mrs. Todd Hunter, after a prankster, later identified as friend Richard Titus, placed a dead fish in his bed. Tammen returned to his room to study psychology, though curiously, he had dropped his psychology course 3 weeks earlier. At approximately 8:30 p.m., a fellow student saw him reading his psychology textbook, marking the last confirmed sighting of Tammen. Around 10:30 p.m., Tammen's roommate, Chuck Finley, returned to their room and found it empty but oddly undisturbed. The lights were on, the radio was playing, Tammen's psychology book was open on the desk, and his personal belongings, including his wallet, car keys, watch, high school class ring, and coat, were left behind. Notably, it was snowing outside, yet Tammen had not taken his coat. Findley assumed Tammen had gone to the Delta Tau Delta fraternity house for the night and did not report his absence until the next morning. When Tammen failed to return, authorities were notified and a search began. The initial response to Tammen's disappearance was robust. On the 25th of April, over 400 students, including Air Force ROTC members and Tammen's fraternity brothers, searched the area around Fisher Hall. The following day, prisoners from Ohio's Honor Camp combed 3,000 acres of Weston Woods, a nearby state forest. Authorities issued a 5-state alarm and checked bus, rail, and air terminals, but no trace of Tammen was found. The Oxford Police Department, led by new Chief Oscar Decker, and Miami University's Dean of Men, Carl Knox, conducted investigations, but archival records were sparse. In 2008, when the Butler County Sheriff's Office reopened the case to compare Tammen's DNA with a John Doe body found in Georgia in 1953, the Oxford PD could provide only a single traffic citation from Tammen's record. In 2009, detectives obtained DNA samples from Tammen's sister, Marcia, and the Georgia body, but there was no match. However, this effort advanced the case by entering Tammen's DNA into a database for future comparisons. Despite these efforts, no physical evidence such as remains or belongings has ever been recovered. When Fisher Hall was demolished in 1978, the rubble was thoroughly searched, but nothing related to Tammen was found. Several theories have emerged to explain Tammen's disappearance, each with its strengths and weaknesses. Amnesia. Early investigators speculated that Tammen suffered a sudden bout of amnesia, causing him to wander off in a dazed state. This theory was bolstered by a report from Clara Spivey, a woman in 7 Mile, Ohio, 12 miles east of Oxford, who claimed that a young man matching Tammen's description knocked on her door around midnight on the 19th of April, 1953. He appeared confused, had a smudge of dirt on his face, and asked for directions to a bus stop, despite there being no bus service in 7 Mile that night. However, the amnesia theory is criticized as implausible, as a healthy 19-year-old with no known medical issues is unlikely to develop severe amnesia suddenly, and if he had, he likely would have been found soon after. Foul play. Some believe Tammen was a victim of foul play, possibly related to a fraternity prank gone wrong or an altercation. A Reddit user suggested that Tammen's disappearance could be linked to a hazing incident, noting that his room's proximity to a fire escape provided easy access for others to enter or exit. However, there were no signs of a struggle in his room, and Tammen's athletic build and wrestling skills suggest he could have defended himself against most attackers. No evidence of foul play has been uncovered, making this theory speculative. Voluntary disappearance. Authorities, including those cited in a 1960 Dayton Daily News article, considered it most likely that Tammen deliberately left to start a new life under an assumed name. This theory is supported by the fact that he left all identifiable belongings behind, which could indicate a desire to erase his identity. Rumors that Tammen was struggling academically or grappling with his sexual orientation might have provided a motive to escape societal pressures. However, his family and friends insisted he was not the type to abandon his life without notice, and with only $10, $15 on him and no access to his $200 bank account, sustaining a new life would have been challenging. CIA involvement. A controversial theory, proposed by Miami alumna Jennifer Wenger, suggests Tammen was recruited by the CIA or involved in experimental hypnosis trials linked to his psychology professor, St. Claire Switzer, who allegedly had CIA ties. Wenger points to Tammen's open psychology book, the expungement of his FBI fingerprints in 2002, which requires a court order or the subject's request, and his unusual blood test request as evidence of a covert operation. While intriguing, this theory lacks concrete evidence, and it seems unlikely that multiple agencies would orchestrate a student's disappearance without leaving traces. Critics argue that the CIA theory relies on circumstantial connections. Several peculiarities add layers to the mystery. Blood test request. In November 1952, Tammen visited the Butler County Coroner's office to determine his blood type, an unusual request that the coroner noted was unique in his 35-year career. Tammen did not seek this test at the university hospital or a local physician, and the reason remains unclear, as it was not required for his upcoming selective service physical. This detail has fueled speculation about secret affiliations or personal concerns, such as paternity or health issues. The disappearance of Ronald Tammen remains a haunting mystery, with no physical evidence and inconclusive leads. Theories like amnesia, foul play, and CIA involvement are intriguing but speculative. His request for a blood test and the expungement of his fingerprints add to the enigma. Despite ongoing interest, the case highlights the challenges of solving vanishings before modern forensic tools.